Hey guys, it's gonna be a little wobbly because my mount's kind of messed up. But I wanted to let you know there will be a press conference from HPD at 3 o'clock today Central Time. You'll have to Google to find it. I'm like I say, I'm on the road, and I don't have a link to their Twitter or any of that, but all the networks, all our local networks will be there. Now, there's a lot going on with this case that you guys are not aware of yet. And I've been slow to put some of the information that I have out for a variety of reasons. But let's just kind of go back to the beginning for a second. A couple years ago, there was an independent journalist that was up to his neck in HPD, and he was exposing things they didn't like. So some of the officers there began to surveil this individual. Eventually they were able to get something that they could charge him with, and they did. And of course the charges ended up getting dropped. It was just contempt of cop stuff. Well, people in the area, media people in the area, journalists, independent journalists, took note of what had happened and all of that. And so we began to cultivate relationships within the Houston Police Department. And a lot of the media guys out here are connected to each other. We see each other out on, call outs. When there's an event, we're all there. So we all know each other or have an idea of who is who. So we share information. For the mainstream media, I am a useful tool because I don't have a manager standing over me saying you can't go do this. For instance, in this particular case, they were forbidden from taking pictures of the interior of the house. Most of them were forbidden from going to the other address. I obviously didn't have those prohibitions, and so it was recommended to me to do these things. But anyway, people develop these relationships with these officers on the inside, and they, of course, feed us information. For instance, you've heard Chief Acevedo's assertion that he is looking at this squad. He has investigators digging into this squad that Goings and Bryant were members of. That is true. What he didn't say publicly is that he has investigators digging into the entire division. It's a division of over 200 officers. They are turning up unexpectedly out in the field, searching cars, checking for undocumented weapons, undocumented drugs. They're asking questions. Where's the buy money? They are up to their neck in the narcotics division, which they need to be. For a long time, we've been hearing about these bogus arrests and drugs being planted on people, but nobody could prove anything. Nobody could it's a suspect's word against the police officers. And I have interviewed and talked to a number of these people, and there was nothing I could do for them other than make a mental note and wait and wait and wait. Well, the waiting is over. The right people are looking now. They're paying attention. There's a lot of unanswered questions about this deal with Goings. The police union is trying to present it as, he was just lazy in doing his paperwork, and he just hadn't done his paperwork on the drugs he had in his car or the drugs he had in his raid vest. That's all it was. No. Absolutely no. That's a lie. The dude may be lazy in his paperwork, but you don't carry that amount of drugs around and go to a house where you have done no buys. So you know there's not going to be any drugs in there when you do this raid. You're carrying drugs to plant. You're carrying things that you should not be carrying on a raid because you need to justify your being there. So where did the buy money go? Because the informants got paid. Where's the buy money? Well, the informants didn't get paid because there was no buy. So where is the buy money that he got for that operation? All these questions have arisen, and they remain unanswered. But now we're going to get to the interesting part. That's all just kind of fluff. The police narrative at the start of this was that Tuttle had a revolver and that he fired on the officers. Now, when they raid a house, they don't just all go to the front door. They send officers to the back door as well to catch anybody that tries to run out the back. What I'm hearing, and this is not verified, this is just postulation, this is just a theory. Based on the stuff that I'm hearing and what I've seen, Tuttle's revolver is missing. It's unaccounted for. Maybe Art will address that today, as I have questioned him about it and he had no answer for me. Perhaps he'll address that today. I hope he does. But in the confiscation sheet and the property sheets, things that were taken from the house, there is no 357 revolver accounted for. It's not listed anywhere. Now, it could be that some other agency picked it up. I don't know. But there should be an accounting for it somewhere, and we have yet to be able to find it. So now we're come to the postulation, the theory. What if? This is a what if. What if the front door raid team entered the residence? The Tuttles are in the residence, standing there. The dog rushes the lead officer in the raid team. That officer fires on the dog. The raid team at the back door hears those shots and thinks that there's a shootout in progress. They kick the back door and come in, and then begin to engage the Tuttles who are standing there. And in the course of exchanging that gunfire, they are wounding officers out front, as well as the front officers wounding officers in the back, possibly. I don't know. I can tell you that there are some unaccounted for holes in the walls, bullet holes, that I can't account for. That theory would account for some of those holes. But it's like, again, at this point, it's just a theory. Unfortunately, and they do this on purpose. We saw this in Waco with the FBI when they were done processing the crime scene to keep independent investigators from coming in there and disputing their narrative. Either, or may have been that the people verified what they said. More likely, they would not. And so, to keep that from happening, the FBI destroyed all the evidence from the Branch Davidian raid. All of the compound area there was destroyed as soon as they were done processing the scene. What they do with this scene, let's just go. I'm not going to paint with a broad brush. Like Acevedo says, let's stick to a fine brush. So let's talk about this scene. Once they were done processing the evidence at this scene, they disturbed it and moved things around to the point that it's difficult to go in there and piece things together properly. This is typical of what they do to kind of cover the scene up. They contaminate the scene so that it makes it harder for anybody else to come in and process the scene, and that was done at the Tuttle residence. That was not done by HPD so much as the crime scene, the Harris County Forensics Unit. Although in the search for the drugs, remember Chief Acevedo said that once they had this shooting and stuff, that they weren't looking for drugs. I can tell you that place was turned inside out looking for drugs. It was thoroughly searched looking for drugs, which is fine. Unfortunately, that also messes up the crime scene. Once that shooting occurred and they had secured the scene, the house should not have been disturbed, period. But I digress. So, well, you know, my question is, A, where's the gun? Where is Tuttle's gun? And they will have tested his hands during the autopsy for GSR, gunshot residue. When you fire a gun and it expels the bullet, residue from the powder gets put all over your hand and forearm, fingers, and whatnot. So if he fired a weapon, there's going to be gunshot residue on his hand. But where is Tuttle's firearm? Why is it not accounted for? And was there a second team that entered through the back door, and did they discharge their weapons? These are the questions we need answered so that we can really start to piece this together. HPD isn't giving us the answers. I'm hoping today maybe they will. That is it. Again, 3 o'clock Central Time. Try and catch Chief Acevedo's press conference. What I'm hearing from people at HPD is that this is a very important conference to catch. I'm on the road. Don't ask where. So I'm unable to actually be there. It was announced after I had already gotten on the road, so I can't do anything about it. So you guys, y'all be safe, and let's see what comes. Talk to y'all later.